Here's everything that happened in Avatar The Last Airbender, Episode 3, Omashu. Okay, so we start off this episode with a little bit of a twist, and by little, I mean a huge twist. And I was like, I have a sneaking suspicion that that person is not who she says she is. So we start off with a group of, I guess they're refugees that are sneaking into Fire Lord Ozai's, I guess, chamber, if you will. And once they get in there, of course, all the guards come in and Fire Lord Ozai pops out from behind a pole and he's like, my, and, you know, busted basically. So he's like, did y'all really think that you were going to escape from here? Like, y'all really thought you were going to come in here and assassinate me? And then what? Just escape this entire palace, basically? Like, how'd you think this was going to end? Like, you're going to come in here and kill me and then just escape? Please. And basically, the refugees were saying, like, you know, it would have been worth it. Like, you had been like, and everyone would rejoice. And he's like, we're a city of prosperity. We're a nation of prosperity. Everyone loves me, like, wealth and all these good things. And they're like, you're a tyrant. And he's like, sure, okay. What about it? And then who comes around the corner and reveals her true identity if it's not Princess Azula? Now, I do want to say, visually, that's not a good representation, in my opinion, of what I feel like Princess Azula should look like compared to, like, the animated show. I'm just not getting the vibe of Princess Azula, not yet at least. I was kind of like, no. But the way Fire Lord Ozai just essentially obliterates the leader of this resistance faction, I was like, okay, Daddy Ozai. But then we quickly shift into a much more peaceful setting, and that is the grand, great city of Omashu. Now, I was really hoping that they were going to be able to bring Omashu to life in a really grand, epic, beautiful way, because obviously in the TV show, Omashu is this grand, amazing city. And I was just like, how are you going to depict this in a way that is believable and just as grand and over the top as it's supposed to be? And I was just like, wow, this is absolutely breathtaking. And it absolutely was. And it looks so real. You see all of the, I don't know what you call them. We're just going to call them chutes. And they have like all those big rectangle, I don't even know. They look like little roller coasters. I don't know. But they were brought to life beautifully. Everything looks magnificent. And it just looks so beautiful. They did such a great job at like animating these things and just bringing them to life, honestly. We are very quickly introduced to Sai, which is the machinist, I think is what they call him. The machinist, which actually he's not really the best person in my opinion, but he is the machinist to the king of Omashu. So he's creating weapons and armory and stuff like that for him. But actually he's also sneaking these weapons to the, well, I guess he's not sneaking them, but well, he also kind of is, I guess, sneaking them to the Fire Nation, which we find out a little bit later, which that's why I say he's like not the best person. And we're also introduced to his son, which I think they're both visually depicted pretty accurately. And actually rather quickly, Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee show up in Omashu. And again, I just feel like all three of them visually are not depicted accurately. And not even just that, but just like the vibes they're giving off. I feel like the vibes of a lot of the characters, even General Iroh and Prince Zuko, they're not giving the same energy and the same vibe. Like Zuko is not giving the spiciness that he usually gives. Iroh's not giving the same like that he gives in the show. And Mai is supposed to be very like solemn and like, what is life? What was life? Like, just very sassy, sarcastic. Like, she's not giving that. You know, Azula's very, very sassy, spastic. She's very, I don't know, electric and just, I will cut you. She's not giving that whatsoever yet. Again, I understand really early in the season, but she's not giving that. Ty Lee is quirky. She's just bouncy. She's energetic. She's just like, boo, 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 boo. You know, I'm just not getting any of these vibes from these characters yet. And I'm just like, that's so much of this show. You know what I mean? Their personalities, all the characters' personalities are just so much of the show. And I'm like not getting it from anyone yet. So I'm like kind of disappointed about that so far. Also, when it comes to like character development and character like how quickly they're introduced into the show, the pacing is very fast in these episodes, which I really do like that. But I'm really noticing that a lot of events are being combined with each other when normally they aren't, because like Jet pops into this really, really quickly as well. You know, everyone just got to Omashu, and guess who else pops into the events? Jet. Jet does not come into all these events that fast, but here's Jet and his, you know, group of friends as well. And so you're introduced to him right away, and I'm like, y'all need to take a breather because this all does not happen that fast. While it's good for the overall timeline and the pacing of events, like I know the director commented before that, you know, the characters, obviously are real people. They're going to age. And, I know there's certain events that they're going to just completely skip past. And, we have to get through a lot of stuff really, really quickly. I understand that. Like, we don't want to pace through things and accelerate the timeline too fast because it does start getting messy. And I do feel like they're going to jump over some important things just too fast and not give certain events as much time as I feel like they need to have. Like, some things need to have a lot of dedicated time. So I do worry about that. But I'm just like, y'all are just like cramming a little bit too much too fast. You know what I mean? So as everyone's just kind of mingling around the lower levels of the town of Omashu, there's a bomb that goes off. And of course, everyone thinks that it's the Fire Nation. They say there's Fire Nation spies that are kind of lurking around. We then find out rather quickly that it wasn't actually Fire Nation spies. Aang finds us out that it wasn't Fire Nation spies. We find out that Jet's involved in some of these sabotages. We find out that Sai is creating, these weapons for the Fire Nation. Like, we find a lot about these characters that they're not as nice as they seem on the outside or at, first glance. Of course, Prince Zuko shows up as well. There's a lot of fighting that happens. There's a lot of fire bending and fire slinging and fire flinging. And of course, Aang is putting out all these fires, and Katara's throwing some water balls up here and there and putting out some fire arrows and whatnot. And of course, who's the person that gets arrested right away? Aang. And I'm like, imagine the audacity. Like, imagine how you'd feel if you're the one that's putting out the fires and you're the one that ends up getting arrested first. But like, also, let's not forget the iconic phrase that thank God was left in, and that is, my cabbages! Like, that is the most iconic phrase from Avatar The Last Airbender, the TV show, and I was like waiting for it. As soon as they walked into Omashu, I was like, you better not forget about the cabbages. Thankfully, they didn't. Overall, I think this episode was pretty good. I feel like it wasn't a strong episode. I'm hoping that episode 4 ties up some loose ends from this episode and kind of stretches out some things from this episode that I feel like was missed or wasn't really done well. So we'll see. But that is it for episode 3's recap. Be on the lookout for my recap for episode 4 coming right away.